Today in Conversations That Convert, we're going to talk about DIYing your next software integration and why you shouldn't do it. We're going to show you an alternative that you are going to love.
Welcome to Conversations That Convert. Every week, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes tackling relevant lead generation, marketing, and sales topics for remodelers, home improvement companies, and home builders. Conversations That Convert is brought to you by Builder Lead Converter, your perfect sales assistant. And now, here's Rick and Diana.
Hey everyone, Diana is off today, but we have a very special guest. We have Morgan Smith from Smith & Company here to talk to us about software integration. Sounds painful, Morgan, so I hope you've got some good things to say.
Yeah, everyone's favorite topic, Rick.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Software.
I just can't wait to do software integration. Yeah, so you're like an angel here, and you and I met at the JobTread Connect conference in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and you told me about what you did, and I said, oh man, I need to have you on my podcast. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Morgan, and what you guys do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rick. Good to be here. And I also love all of the relationships and connections that come off trade shows and industry conferences, and the JobTread Connect one in particular was quite impressive. I, as the title might suggest, I own a company called Smith & Co. I'm Smith. What we specialize in are helping contractors, home builders, remodelers get the most out of the software that they use. And the way that we think about that is eliminating all the guesswork and building systems that actually work for people's companies inside the software that they've chosen. Now, we specialize in JobTread. We used to help companies with BuilderTrend and CoConstruct and a lot of the other tools out there. But transparently, Rick, I had a day where I was talking to two prospects, and the first one called me and said, hey, can you help me move off of BuilderTrend and get into JobTread? And then later in the day, I had a conversation where somebody called me and said, hey, can you help me get onto BuilderTrend? And I was like, wait. I don't think we should be doing both of these anymore. So we've just put all our eggs into JobTread anymore. But, we're a team of operations people. We think about software and operations day in, day out, and how it can support the rest of the business. So software is supposed to make your life easier, is what I often say.
Yeah, it's supposed we fall in love with maybe it's at a booth at a trade show, and it's like we're doing the demo, right? And the representative there is showing us all these things it can do, and wow, it can do this, this, and this, and then we go back and say, okay, let's buy it, let's try to get it implemented into our company, and then sometimes weeks, if not months later, you're pulling your hair out, going like, I cannot get this thing to work. So how do you guys come in and deal with that?
Well, it's so interesting you say that, because we were running the numbers the other day. For anybody who's come over to JobTread, one thing that you'll know is they have this crazy training library, right? They have all these videos. And it turns out that if you just sat down and you watched all the videos, it would take you 35 hours.
Wow.
So if you're doing 35 hours worth of watching, you're probably going to do 35 hours worth of playing too, right? You're not just going to watch the video and then go to the next one. You're going to have to get in there and see how it works and see whether it works. So suddenly it's 70 hours just to understand how the software works. And then it's probably for every hour of playing and training that you're doing, you got to do another hour to build in your own company. I've seen this all the time. I talk with owners all the time, which is, okay, well, I learned how the software works. I played with the tool. I think I know how it works. Now, how do I do it for my company? And so now it's an extra hour. So suddenly 70 hours becomes 140 hours. And if you think about it, most owners that I talk to say to me, if I ask, I'd probably put in a few hours a week, or I can only put in a few hours a week. Into software, right? I got clients to deal with. I got to go on job sites. I got to turn around proposals. Turns out you actually have a business to run and not just software to learn. Right. And so 140 hours, without only a few hours a week, spreads out to almost a year. And so there's no wonder why software implementation can take so long. Because if you're DIYing it, you got to learn two things, right? The first thing you got to learn is how the software works. That's the first 70 hours. And then the second thing is how to use the software for your company. And that's the second 70 hours. And a lot of what we do is we take out all the guesswork from that first chunk because we know how the software works. And we shorten that time to make that software work for a person's company. In this case, JobTread is what we specialize in. But the principle is the same, whether you're hiring BuilderTrend or you're bringing on a new CRM, right? Or you're trying to figure out a new process and you're using technology to do it. I mean, you're going to spend upfront time learning how it works, and then you're going to spend time actually doing it for your company. So where we come in is we get rid of all of that, learning how the software works. We've done that already, and we just set up a system that works for our clients' companies, because every home builder, every remodeler is just a little bit different in how they need to run. And so the questions that we ask a lot is, how do we, knowing what we know about the software, how do we build it in a particular way for their company? Suddenly 70 hours can become much, much, much less for a company who hires an outside implementation partner.
So Morgan, what about the builder out there right now that's maybe listening to this and thinking like, I've spent 5 years, 10 years, with this software, and we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and we have gotten it kind of to the way that we just want it. And the thought of, switching over to a new system, even though I'm interested because maybe there's some limitations with my software, I realize it might be a better option. Maybe it's a cost savings, but the thought of actually going through that and having to redo everything that we've already done, it's like say I'd rather do 3 root canals, in a week than go through that process again. I mean, how is that something that you guys can help with? And it sounds like you're familiar with CoConstruct and JobTread when we're talking about project management software.
Yeah,
but it's not. I mean, are you able to take how something is set up like on one platform and actually mirror that on a new platform?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I want to, I'll answer this in 2 ways. I think the first answer is sort of like general advice, or a thing I find myself saying generally, not necessarily specific to JobTread, which is anybody who is implementing software, meaning they are customizing it for a particular company, they are migrating data from one system to another, whatever it is, what they need to be good at is understanding the operations of a company. They don't necessarily need to be great at the software itself. They need to be good at technology. They need to be good at figuring that out kind of stuff. What they need to be good at or great at is understanding the operations of a company. And that operations, you could broadly think of it in 3 buckets. Your operations around your sales process, your operations around how you manage projects in the field, and lastly, how you manage your finances or job costing, right? Mm-hmm. And the challenge that companies face when they're migrating software to what you just articulated isn't just the debt, the tech debt, right? The years that they poured into this system. It's also that they've built their company to run a particular way around that system, right? They have their operations set up in a way that when a client comes in, it goes to this piece of the software. And then that triggers a notification to this person on the team. Or when we're delivering or when we're scheduling out tasks, right? Those send particular kinds of notifications to our subcontractors or to our vendors or to our members of our team who are in-house labor. So the technology is really just like an easier way to do it instead of having to do all of that manually. But ultimately, it's an operations question. And that's the hard part of migrating from one system to another. The technology is it's all code at the end of the day. But also, what the thing that prevents companies most often is when they're trying to set up the new system, they're trying to figure out, hey, will this work with the way our company runs, right? Will this work with our operations when it comes to how we sell clients, manage projects, or cost jobs? And so there's the big learning curve of, as I mentioned, of figuring out how the software works. And then when you're answering, how does this work for my company? Chances are you might have to change those processes. And that's an additional thing that's like a headache to go through, because now your employees used to track time in one system and now they got to track time in a new system. Or, we used to manage leads over here and now they're in a new, and this isn't even just for project management, it's any software. it's changing the operations.
Right. Well, I can also think of another, because I, as a builder, might come to you and say, hey, here's what I built. I want you to mirror it. But really, for me, I'm thinking like, hey, you're the expert. Is there a better way for me to set this up? So, there's a lot of our clients are maybe they might be a member of NARI or Remodelers Advantage or NAHB Builder 20 clubs. And so they're maybe 4-level coach or association professional builders, they're giving them guidance on here's how you should set things up. So do you have some of that expertise too, where you can say to a builder, hey, you have it set up this way, but there's a better way to do this. And here's what we suggest.
Yes, absolutely. I think everybody on our team, myself included, has a lot of operations backgrounds. I think 2 of our 4 have been like fractional COOs at small businesses. Everyone on our team has like at least a decade with small companies, and most of it in skilled trades. It's not always home building or remodeling. Sometimes we worked with concrete companies or, all sorts of small businesses, and small being relative, right? We could talk up to 10, 20 million in this category. Mm-hmm. But yes, when folks come to us, and I think this is what people should look for in an implementation partner, is the questions that they ask isn't about whether they're going to use a particular feature of the software. Like, oh, do you think you're going to use the daily log feature in JobTread? Because most often that answer is, I don't know. And that's fine. Right. You don't know,
I'm not
right?
sure. Like, you tell me, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. You tell me. What they should be asking, any implementation partner should be asking, how do you currently run your teams? How do you currently schedule projects? How do you currently cost jobs? Are you inside QuickBooks? We interact with QuickBooks a lot. Are you inside a different accounting software? Who is your bookkeeper? Are they in-house? Are they fractional? If they're an external accountant, have they ever played with this new software before? Those questions are operations questions. And we find ourselves asking a lot of that stuff up front when we're talking with clients, because we know how the software works. That's not the hard part. Mm-hmm. It's figuring out how to transpose or translate that software to how a company runs.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you're customizing the software, right, to work in a particular way. And so, yes, we often make recommendations. Hey, you've been doing this way before. Have you ever considered doing it this other way? Because sometimes the answer is yes, they tried it and it went terribly.
Sure.
And we're not going to come in there and say, oh, well, you better do it this way. But we've seen so many different setups and operation systems between different companies that we've worked with now, that we have a pretty good sense of the core habits and the core structures that companies need to have a really efficient, really streamlined and profitable company. And that all comes back to—
It's really intuitive. You say that is to understand how the company runs. It's, just thinking about when I built Builder Lead Converter, it was all based on a sales conversion, and so I have a sales process that I would follow. And I like, hey, if I can replicate and duplicate this, and we can do it without having the human element on it, I can just tee up appointments for our builder partners so they can determine which clients they want to work with and which ones they don't. And but it was all based on how that sales process works and the trial and error I experienced over a 30-year career of getting that lead from the first point of contact to the closing table, and get that contract signed. So
exactly
that makes a lot of sense for what you're talking about. Now, I'm sorry, you want to add something else?
Yeah, I was just going to say a kind of a case in point. We're working with a client right now, and what they're doing is they're upgrading their software systems all at the same time. So they're migrating from spreadsheets to a proper CRM and for marketing and initial sales conversions, and JobTread for a lot of their project management, costing, proposals, and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And all of our upfront work was understanding, how does the spreadsheet work? Who interacts on your team in here? And more importantly, as we're moving into this new system, we're working with their CRM people to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes, and that those two systems seamlessly talk to each other. Because I can build a lightweight, CRM inside JobTread, but it's not going to do the things that, a HubSpot or any one of those Go High levels might do. So then the question becomes, okay, what's the process, right? What's the stage that a lead has to hit in which they exit the CRM and they enter JobTread, and you're going to do estimating? All that's just process. Sure, the software is there to help you, but almost all of our upfront work is just understanding, how are you running your sales process? How are you managing projects?
Yeah.
And then mapping the software to meet or improve those needs.
And in my humble opinion, the correct answer to your question of when should they leave the CRM and go into like a project management software like a JobTread is when a financial commitment has been made by the lead. That is when it should go in. No free estimates, not before that. Don't waste your time and expertise.
Absolutely.
But that's a different topic for a different day.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about how this works. So I'm a builder. I'm heavily invested into one platform. I'm looking at a new platform and I say, hey, Morgan, can you help me replicate this, maybe make improvements to my process, put it on this new platform, get it so it's running correctly. So I assume there's an upfront process that you do to get everything set up and going, and then how do you like maintain that or say assist going forward to make sure that builder has the training and they're getting the most out of that system that you set up for them?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our business for setups, migrating from any system they currently have, we've seen them all, Rick. We've seen multi-million-dollar businesses run on pen and paper and some spreadsheets, and that's how they're working. And we've seen, and they've hit a ceiling is usually what happens. Oh my gosh, we're getting too busy. Things are falling through the cracks. So they're looking some way to use software to fix that, which is great. So yeah, our setups, a lot of our work as an implementation partner is done for you. It's DFY work, right? So we're understanding your needs. We're building out the software, and it's a collaboration, right? Everybody on our team is sending videos, maybe hopping on a call every once in a while, sending written updates, making sure that as we're building it out, it's making sense for how their company works. But the way we conclude our setups is with a full day of training. Now, sometimes we can do more than just a full day of training. But what we found is that sometimes it's on site, sometimes it's virtual. What we found is it's a great opportunity to bring the whole team together and say, all right, this is our go live, right? We're going to start using this system. Here's how you track time. Here's how you log work. Here's how scheduling works. And we go through those priorities. Hey, these are the things that we're going to do. Once we've graduated from training, usually companies have follow-on questions, to your point, or they run into roadblocks, or maybe the complete setup got them a lot of the way there. And now that they have this is very frequent. Now that they have the new system, the new opportunities have been unlocked and they go, oh my gosh, we can do more than I realized in here. Can we get, some external support? And that's what we also offer. So we do the setups on the front end, which a lot of implementation partners do. And then we offer ongoing support. We call it operations support that helps them make the most of their software purchase. As I mentioned, we specialize in JobTread. So like we're all in on that platform. But I think any great implementation provider should be able to offer ongoing support because everybody has questions. Everybody runs into roadblocks. And in our eyes, that setup and that training graduation day is not the end. It's the start. It's the beginning of using the software and figuring out how it works really, and re-educating and training team members. So a lot of our operations support is offering that on behalf of the company so that they have somebody to call, or if they want to make improvements, automate new things, or find new ways to customize the platform, then we're there to help them with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's like it's a dynamic process, right? It's not static. So just because you are saying, hey, we're going live, doesn't mean you're gonna not stop making improvements and updates. And of course, the software itself is always making improvements and updates as well.
Of course,
at least it should be.
It should, yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
It should be. That's right.
But what I have found too is that anytime you're taking on an endeavor like this, is like you have to have buy-in from the team, and more importantly, you have to have buy-in from leadership, owners saying, "Hey guys, this is what we are doing." Because if those people that are going to be tasked with using that software, and you're asking them to say, "Hey, I want you to stop using this system that you've been using for however long, and that by the back of your hand, and start with this new system," which you're starting from scratch. If you are not like 100% saying, guys, this is what we are doing, we're burning the boats, we're not going back. If they see a crack in that armor, you forget about it. I mean, they are going to do everything they can to try to sabotage your project. So as good as you guys are,
it's true.
You got to have owners on board. If the owners aren't on board, man, it's a failure waiting to happen.
Yeah, and often we'll get somebody who comes to our website or hears about us, and they're a team member. Maybe they're the internal champion, but they're not the owner, right? And
Sure.
they come to us and they say, "Hey, we're looking at doing this, or we've already migrated over, and now we're running into challenges. Can you help with this?" Oftentimes, one of my first questions on that call is, "Where are the owners' heads at?"
Yep. Right.
Who undertook this, right? Because migrating from one piece of software to another is not necessarily a technology challenge, it's an operations challenge. If you don't have owners buying in to the transition, it's just an uphill climb the entire time, because the owner's going to run a company in a particular way. And if they're not bought in to the new thing, then they're not going to run the company using the new thing. And that is always a roadblock. We disqualify companies who don't have owner buy-in, because we know that we're not the right fit for them.
Yeah, and I think it's and the reason I bring this up is because just like that, just like we are a same thing. We're like a software with a service, right? So we provide a service just like you do. There's an underlying software that we are working on, or software platforms that we are working on, and oftentimes, like, you get an owner who says, this would be good for my team. I just want to sort of pass this off and let the team deal with it. It's like, don't do it. I mean, you have to be like hands-on. The team has to know you're 100% on board with this, and because you have to push through, because they're going to push back as much as they can. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would, I didn't realize we're going to go here in this conversation, but I think that's so important is for any owner considering making that software change, is you have to be willing to fight through the battles that are going to come with your team to get them to the point of where now it's not every day is a learning curve, and like they start to get some rhythm and they start to understand the software and they're starting to get excited about it, improve it, and then you can let them take off with it. But getting them there takes a lot of nudging.
It's so interesting you say that. One of the things that we haven't like developed this into a graphic or something, but we talk about this internally a lot, which is customers sort of sit on like a maturity curve, and it looks like a bell curve. And there's always a tipping point where, leading up to the tipping point, there's a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. And then once we get over the tipping point, we get gradually fewer and fewer and fewer. And that's when we know we've done our job, right? Because we know that we've gotten across that threshold and people are starting to feel comfortable with it. And they know how things are working or supposed to work. And it's something that we watch for in every client engagement. And we expect, right? Even if the owner is involved, oftentimes there's a team member internally who is that champion or who's going to make sure things are happening. Smaller companies, usually the owner becomes the champion. In that case, what we're watching for is how often are we repeating the same thing to multiple different team members as well. And it's the thing I say to my team a lot is how we communicate is how we operate. It's like an internal mantra. And so if we are finding ourselves repeating the same things to multiple individual team members on different calls, it means that the communication is not flowing. And we got to do more on our end to make sure that people are being trained properly and educated on where we're at in the process, and that they feel comfortable, because we want to get them past that tipping point where they feel excited to log into this piece of software, everybody's favorite thing, and actually use it to help run the company. And that,
and as you mentioned, it's got to make life easier. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's why you're doing this, is to make things easier. And so I found is that the typical adoption period is somewhere between 3 to 6 months for most employees. And then there's going to be employees that are never going to, they're going to complain no matter what. It doesn't matter if you have this software or something else, they're just going to complain. And there are some people that are just tech adverse, and they just, the whole thing is overwhelming. So yeah, you're right. You want to find that champion that embraces it, that proves that it makes things easier, and then build on top of that. So Morgan is
exactly right.
It's been great. So if somebody's interested in engaging you, learning about more of what you can do for them, how should they get in touch?
Well, they can always go to smithandco.ltd. That's our website. But if you already are on JobTread or you're signing up and demoed it, we're also in the marketplace. So you can go to your settings, marketplace, find us there. I know you all are in there as well, Rick.
We are.
And you're more than welcome to submit an inquiry. And also, our website has a lot of information. People can learn more. There's a scheduling link on there. We try and make it really easy for people to get in touch with us. So feel free to, if you're interested or you need help migrating from one service to JobTread, or you're already in there and you need some additional help, that's what we're here to do. We're here as a outside go-to resource for people.
So that's smithandco.com, and that's A-N-D, Smith, A-N-D-C-O.
Oh, great question. Smith and Co. Yes, full, all written out, but .ltd, like
.ltd. I'm sorry, I said
yeah.
.com. So smithandco.ltd. We'll put a link down below the video here, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we'll try to get a link on there as well as in our blog post. So Morgan, it's been absolutely awesome talking to you. Thank you so much for the services you provide. We're going to work with Morgan. I think he should be one of our partners for BLC, so we can, again, have him help a lot of our clients, because more and more of them are on JobTread or considering JobTread. And so I think you're a real asset.
Oh, well,
so thank you very much for being here, Morgan. And we very much appreciate it. And for my brothers and sisters in Christ, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all always. We'll see you next time on Conversations That Convert.